Hi, I'm Gatsby. I'm a dog. Now, before you click away thinking this is some gimmick, hear me out. I've spent my entire life living among humans, watching you make financial decisions. And from my perspective as an outside observer, I've noticed something fascinating. Most of you have absolutely no idea what you're getting into when you decide to have children. This isn't about whether you should or shouldn't have kids. I'm a dog. I don't have opinions on human reproduction. But I do have opinions on math. And the math on kids, it's brutal. Here's what fascinates me. Humans spend more time researching which car to buy than they do calculating whether they can actually afford a child. You'll compare lease terms for 3 months, but you'll have a baby based on feelings and hope. It's remarkable, really. So today, I'm going to walk you through the actual numbers. Not the sanitized version you see in parenting magazines. Not the it'll all work out optimism your friends give you. The real numbers. The ones that explain why 80% of American households cannot actually afford children according to basic financial planning standards. And look, I get it. Dogs cost money too. My first year, my humans spent about $2,000 on me. Food, vet bills, a bed, some toys. Humans spend that in the first month on a baby. Just the first month. Let me show you what I mean. Year one with a human baby costs approximately $46,000 in direct expenses, and that's before we even talk about the hospital bill. Let me break that down because I know what you're thinking. No way, babies are small. How expensive can they be? Childcare. If both parents work, you need daycare. Infant daycare averages $1,200 per month in the United States. In major cities, $2,500 to $3,500 per month. Yes, per month. That's $14,400 to $42,000 annually just for someone to watch your baby while you work to afford the baby. Now, maybe you're thinking, well, one of us will just stay home. Great. That's $40,000 to $80,000 in lost income depending on who stays home. Plus lost career advancement, lost retirement contributions, lost Social Security credits. But let's just focus on the direct costs for now. Diapers and formula, $200 to $300 per month. That's another $2,400 to $3,600 annually. And before someone says, just breastfeed, remember that requires one parent to be available every 2 to 3 hours, 24/7 for months. There's an opportunity cost to that too. Furniture and gear. Crib, changing table, stroller, car seat, high chair, baby monitor, bottles, clothes they'll outgrow in 3 months. Budget $2,000 to $5,000 for year one setup. And babies are picky. That $200 stroller, they might hate it. Now you need a different one. Healthcare. Assuming you have insurance, you're still looking at copays, deductibles, and out-of-pocket costs. Average out-of-pocket healthcare for a baby's first year, $1,500 to $3,000, and that's if everything goes smoothly. Clothes and essentials. Babies outgrow things constantly. Budget $100 to $150 per month minimum. Now here's the big one, the birth itself. Even with insurance, the average out-of-pocket cost for childbirth in the United States is $18,000. With complications, $25,000 to $50,000. Without insurance, 6 figures. So let's add it up. First year, childcare, $14,400 if you use average daycare. Diapers and formula, $2,800. Furniture and gear, $3,500. Healthcare, $2,000. Clothes and essentials, $1,500. Miscellaneous, baby proofing, extra utilities, etc., $1,800. Total direct costs year one, $46,000, plus the $18,000 birth. That's $64,000 for 1 year, for one tiny human who doesn't even remember it. As a dog, my entire first year cost $2,000, and I provided emotional support and home security. Human babies mostly just cry and require constant attention. I'm not saying one is better than the other. I'm just saying the return on investment is very different. Okay, so you survived year one. Congratulations. Now let's talk about years 2 through 18. According to the USDA, the average cost to raise a child from birth to age 18 is $310,000. That's $17,222 per year. But that number is misleading because it includes year one, which we already know costs way more. So let's look at the ongoing annual costs after year one. Housing. Kids need space. That second bedroom isn't optional. The difference between a one-bedroom and two-bedroom apartment, $400 to $800 per month in most cities. That's $4,800 to $9,600 per year. And if you want them to have their own room instead of converting your living room, now you're looking at a three-bedroom. Add another $400 to $600 per month. And even then, you need after-school care until they're old enough to stay home alone. That's about age 12 in most states. Food. Babies eat formula. Toddlers eat everything in your house. Teenagers eat constantly. Food costs scale up dramatically. Budget $200 to $400 per month additional food costs per child. That's $2,400 to $4,800 annually. Healthcare. Kids get sick. They get injured. They need dental care. They need vision care. Average annual healthcare costs per child, $1,500 to $2,500. Clothes and shoes. Kids grow constantly. They outgrow things every few months. They destroy clothes at an impressive rate. Budget $800 to $1,200 annually. Activities and education. Sports, music lessons, tutoring, summer camps. Even if you go budget-friendly, you're looking at $1,000 to $3,000 per year. And if your kid decides they want to play club soccer or take competitive dance, multiply that by 5. Transportation. Bigger car, more gas, more maintenance. Insurance goes up when you add a teenage driver. Budget an extra $2,000 to $4,000 annually for transportation costs. Electronics and technology. Phone, laptop, tablet for school. Budget $1,000 to $2,000 annually once they hit middle school. Some years less, some years more. But the USDA number of $17,000 per year, that assumes you're cutting every corner, living in a low-cost of area, and your kid doesn't do any activities. Realistically, most middle-class families spend $2,500 to $3,000 per month on their child once all expenses are included. That's $30,000 to $36,000 annually. Over 18 years, that's $540,000 to $648,000. And remember, that's after the $64,000 first year. As a dog, the most expensive thing about me is when I eat something I shouldn't and need an emergency vet visit. That happens maybe once every few years and costs $500. Human children are exponentially more expensive, and they do it on purpose. So now that we know what kids actually cost, let's talk about who can actually afford this. Financial advisors generally recommend that your childcare and child-related expenses shouldn't exceed 20% to 25% of your gross household income. Some say 30% maximum. Above that, and you're making financial sacrifices that will hurt your long-term security. So if a child costs $30,000 to $36,000 per year on average, what income do you need? Let's do the math. If child costs should be no more than 25% of your income, and your child costs $30,000 annually, you need $30,000 divided by 0.25 equals $120,000 gross household income for one child. 2 kids? You're looking at $50,000 to $60,000 annually in combined child-related expenses. Using the same 25% rule, that's $200,000 to $240,000 in household income. Now let's compare that to reality. The median household income in the United States is approximately $75,000. That means half of all households make less than that. And even at $75,000, you cannot afford one child by financial planning standards. At $75,000 gross, your take-home after taxes is roughly $56,000 to $60,000, depending on your state. That's $4,700 to $5,000 per month after taxes. If your child costs $2,500 to $3,000 per month, that's 50% to 60% of your take-home income. Before you pay for housing, before you buy food for yourself, before you save for retirement. Let me put this in perspective. According to financial planning standards, housing should be no more than 30% of income. Retirement savings should be 15% of income. Emergency fund should be 6 months of expenses. Debt payments should be no more than 10% of income. If your child is consuming 50% to 60% of your income, you cannot meet any of those standards. You are living paycheck to paycheck by definition. So, who can actually afford kids according to proper financial planning? Households making $120,000 or more for one child. Households making $200,000 or more for 2 children. What percentage of American households earn $120,000 or more? About 20%. That means 80% of American households cannot afford one child according to basic financial planning standards. Now, I know what you're thinking. But Gatsby, millions of people have kids on less than that. They make it work. And you're right, they do make it work. By sacrificing retirement savings, by going into debt, by living paycheck to paycheck, by hoping nothing goes wrong because they have no emergency fund, by staying in jobs they hate because they can't afford the risk of changing careers, by delaying or skipping healthcare, by driving old cars into the ground, by never taking vacations, by never retiring. That's not making it work. That's surviving. There's a difference. And here's what really fascinates me as an outside observer. Humans do all of this voluntarily. Nobody forces you to have children. You choose it, knowing it will stress your finances for 2 decades. And then you're surprised when you're stressed about money. Dogs don't do this. Dogs operate within their means. If we can't afford something, we simply don't acquire it. Humans are a peculiar species. Now, let me show you what this looks like in practice with a real example. I'm calling them the Thompson family, though that's not their real name. Combined household income, $155,000. That's the 80th percentile. They make more than 80% of American households. They should be comfortable, right? He makes $85,000, she makes $70,000. Both have college degrees, professional jobs, benefits. They live in a mid-sized city, not New York or San Francisco, but not rural Kansas either, just a normal American city. Here's their budget. Gross income, $155,000 annually, or $12,917 per month. After taxes, healthcare premiums, and 401k contributions, they're contributing 6% each to get the company match, $8,750 per month take home. Now the expenses. Mortgage, $2,400 per month, 3-bedroom house, nothing fancy, 30-year loan. Daycare, $2,200 per month, 1 child, ages 2. Car payments, $850 per month, 2 cars, both used but reliable. Car insurance, $220 per month. Gas, $280 per month. Groceries, $800 per month, family of 3. Utilities, $280 per month, electric, water, gas, trash. Internet and phones, $180 per month. Student loan payments, $600 per month. Health insurance out of pocket, $150 per month, copays, deductibles. Life insurance, $80 per month. Clothes and household items, $200 per month. Child expenses beyond daycare, $300 per month, diapers, clothes, activities, etc. Entertainment and dining out, $150 per month. They're being frugal. Miscellaneous, $200 per month. Total monthly expenses, $8,690. Take-home pay, $8,750. Expenses, $8,690. Leftover, $60 per month. That's it, $60 per month. And that's if nothing goes wrong. No car repairs, no medical emergencies, no home repairs, no Christmas gifts, no vacations, no birthday parties for their kid. They make $155,000 per year, which puts them in the top 20% of American households by income. and they have $60 per month in breathing room. This is what living paycheck to paycheck looks like when you make six figures. This is what "we're doing fine" looks like before something breaks. And notice what's missing from their budget: retirement savings beyond the company match, college savings for their child, emergency fund contributions, any kind of wealth building. They're surviving, not thriving. Surviving. And this is a household with $155,000 in income. What about the family making $75,000 or $50,000? The math simply doesn't work. As a dog, I watch this pattern constantly. Humans have kids, realize they can't afford them, and then spend 18 years stressed about money, wondering what went wrong. What went wrong is you didn't run the numbers first. Now let's drop the college bomb. Everything I just described, that's birth through age 18. But we're not done, because now your kid needs college. Average cost of college in 2026. Public in-state university, $120,000 for 4 years. Public out-of-state, $200,000 for 4 years. Private university, $280,000 to $440,000 for 4 years. And these numbers assume costs stay flat, which they won't. College costs have increased faster than inflation for 40 consecutive years. So if you're having a baby today and that baby goes to college in 18 years, you're looking at public in-state, $180,000 to $240,000. Public out-of-state, $300,000 to $400,000. Private, $400,000 to $600,000. Let's use the conservative number. Public in-state, $240,000. So now we're at birth, $64,000. Ages 1 to 18, $540,000. College, $240,000. Total, $844,000 for one child. 2 kids, $1.7 million. 3, $2.5 million. And that assumes average costs. No private school, no expensive activities, no study abroad, no graduate school. Just a basic middle-class upbringing and a public university education. Now, can your kid get scholarships? Sure. Can they work part-time? Sure. Can they take out loans? Sure. But that just shifts who pays, not whether it gets paid. And here's what humans don't calculate. If you're not saving for college, your kid either goes into debt or they don't go. Or you raid your retirement to pay for it. All 3 options are financially catastrophic. Dogs don't need college. We learn everything we need to know in the first year, and it costs $500 for obedience training. Human education costs more than most houses. I'm not saying one is better. I'm just saying you should probably budget for it. Now let's talk about opportunity cost. Because the money you spend on kids isn't just gone, it's money you're not investing. If you're spending $3,000 per month on a child for 18 years, that's $648,000 in direct costs as we calculated. But what if you invested that $3,000 per month instead? At an 8% average annual return, which is reasonable for a diversified stock portfolio over 18 years, that $3,000 per month becomes $1.3 million. Let me say that again. The opportunity cost of having one child is $1.3 million in foregone wealth. 2 children, $2.6 million. Now, before anyone accuses me of being heartless, let me be clear. I'm not saying kids aren't worth it. I'm not saying you shouldn't have them. I'm a dog. I don't have opinions on human life choices. What I'm saying is that most humans don't realize they're making this choice. They think having kids is just a natural life milestone, not a $1.3 million financial decision. You are choosing between kids and wealth. That's fine, but you should know you're choosing. And here's where it gets interesting. The humans who don't have kids, many of them retire in their 40s and 50s. The ones who have kids, they're working into their 70s, trying to make up for the decades they couldn't save because every dollar went to childcare, activities, and college. Again, no judgment, but those are the facts. And the thing is, dogs understand this instinctively. We don't have kids unless we can afford to raise them. We operate within our means. We don't go into debt for puppies. Humans do it all the time and then wonder why they're stressed. What's really fascinating is that humans know all this on some level. You know kids are expensive. You've seen your friends struggle. You've heard the stories. But you do it anyway, thinking somehow your situation will be different. Spoiler, it's not different. The math is the math. and the math doesn't care about your feelings. So let's bring this all together. Can you afford kids? Here's the honest answer. If your household income is below $120,000, no, you cannot afford one child by financial planning standards. If it's below $200,000, you cannot afford two children. Can you still have them? Of course, 80% of households do, but you'll be sacrificing retirement, emergency savings, wealth building, and financial security to do it. Is it worth it? That's not for me to decide. I'm a dog. All I can tell you is what the numbers say. But here's what I've observed after years of watching humans. The ones who are honest about the math tend to be happier than the ones who aren't. The ones who plan for it, who acknowledge the sacrifice, who adjust their lifestyle accordingly. They're less stressed than the ones who just hope it works out. The ones who pretend kids don't cost much, who say, "We'll figure it out," who assume love conquers all, those are the ones calling into Dave Ramsey at age 45, buried in debt with no retirement savings, wondering what went wrong. So if you're thinking about having kids, run the actual numbers. Look at your real income, your real expenses, and calculate whether you can actually afford it. Not whether you can survive it, whether you can afford it properly without sacrificing your future. And if the numbers say no, that's okay. You're not a failure for acknowledging math. You're actually smarter than most people. If this video helped you see the brutal reality of kid costs, hit that subscribe button and give it a thumbs up. I've got a lot more financial observations about human behavior coming your way. Trust me, you'll want to see what I've noticed about mortgages, cars, and lifestyle inflation. I'm Gatsby, and I'll see you in the next one.